J. Barber. Let's say the following is on the general subject of love. Love. But why talk of love when you can talk of the beloved? Love is the law of attraction. Everything is attracted to everything in creation. God projected himself so that he might find himself. Thus, the law of attraction. There is nothing but love. God seeking himself, but in order to make it difficult so that in the end, realization is glorious. He covers himself with innumerable veils, yet love exists throughout. So worldly pursuits is still the law of attraction, but thick with self-interest. The Master one day said in the gathering of his disciples that he had learnt of love from a criminal. They all waited in wonderment to hear his explanation. And then the Master continued, I happened to witness a criminal being flogged for his crime. His back was heavily lacerated and bleeding, yet the expression on his face was beatific, glowing with a gentle smile. I was amazed that a man should look so under extreme bodily pain.
Yeah.
After his punishment had finished, I approached him and asked how he could have been suffering with such heavy flogging while he seemed caught up in another world and showing no pain or anguish. He said, I love a woman intensely, but she will have nothing to do with me. I approach her and she turns away. She avoids me completely. But today I saw her amidst the crowd, witnessing my flogging, and she wept tears of pity on seeing my plight. I would unwillingly undergo 100 such floggings if it meant that I could see again those tears of my beloved. In the overflow of love from the advent of the Prophet Muhammad, there lived a young man and woman who loved each other intensely, but who were prevented from marrying because of friction separating their respective families. Years passed by and marriage continued to be refused. But the love between the young man and woman intensified. Then after what seemed ages, concord between the families was finally achieved. And so at last the young couple were united in marriage. On the first night after the rituals, such was their immense joy in now being together that they both happily agreed to spend the night in thanksgiving prayers to God. Their joy continued, and with the second night they again happily spent the whole night in heartfelt prayers to their beloved God. After the third night was likewise completed in immense happiness, they both agreed that such should now be their life, a life spent in constant prayer of gratitude and remembrance for their mutual beloved. And through the grace of his love, this they achieved, as was recorded in their old age. Kabir, I think. But what's it matter? This day is dear to me above all other days. For today my beloved Lord is a guest in my house. My chamber and my courtyard are beautiful with his presence. My longings sing his name, and they become lost in his great beauty. I wash his feet, and I look on his face, and I lay before him as an offering my body, my mind, and all that I have. What a day of gladness is that day in which my beloved, who is my treasure, comes to my house. All evils fly from my heart when I see my Lord. My love has touched him. My heart is longing for the name which is truth. The Lord is in me. The Lord is in you. So life is in every seed. O servant, put false pride away and seek him within you. 1,000,000 suns are ablaze with light. The sea of blue spreads in the sky. The fever of life is stilled, and all stains are washed away when I sit in the midst of the world. Hark to the unstruck bells and drums. Take delight in love. Rains pour down without water, and the rivers are streams of light. One love it is that pervades the whole world, for there are who knew it fully. Few there are who know it fully. They are blind who hope to see it by the light of reason. That reason which is the cause of separation. The house of reason is very far away. How blessed is Kabir, that amidst this great joy, he sings within his own vessel. It is the meeting of soul with soul. It is the music of the forgetting of sorrows. It is the music that transcends all coming and all going forth. Meher Baba has said, the best is to remember me and forget everything else, leaving everything to me. That is a complicated matter for those who are very interested in spirituality, but not for those who love me. Try to remember me, try to please me, try to do as I wish. That is how you should live in the world. Otherwise, it's too complicated. Adi Senior, one of Baba's close ones, described Baba in the early 20s. He was fair, but looked tanned with the tremendous force of having to contain the fire of absoluteness of God in the limitedness of human nature. He was sharp, quick, forthright and vibrant. His eyes were penetrating and aglow with divine fire. His body was lean and wiry, but strong and active. There was an air of deep drunkenness of spirit, the intoxication which was ever conscious that flashed, and in his lightning words of knowledge and tender love. The selflessness that pervaded his doings and words was simple and unsophisticated. Inwardly, he seemed to live as God for God's work. and outwardly he lived as man for all men except for himself. Erich, another, of course, low, close one, has said, although Barber has said not to get involved in the family affairs of others, as friends and fellow aspirants take his name, we can raise the subject lovingly of another one's way of life. Question it, discuss it if invited to do so, and then drop it, remembering that we are not the creator. The essential point is our motive in raising the issue. Interesting.
Yeah.
A young, handsome, well-educated man was one day enjoying a cup of coffee at a sidewalk cafe when he suddenly saw a young woman of extraordinary beauty. That first glance was sufficient for him to fall deeply in love with her. Realizing that she might the next moment disappear and that he must therefore move swiftly, he boldly approached her, saying, "With my very first glance, I have fallen so deeply in love with you that I know I cannot live without you for a second. Without you, even death would be better than life. I beg you to accept me as your lover and husband." The young woman quietly looked at him and said, "Yes, I too find you very handsome and of good character and disposition. I see no reason why I should not accept your proposal. But there is, however, one condition: never, ever set eyes on my sister. She is so very beautiful that compared to her, I am but an ugly duckling. If this condition is acceptable to you, then I'm willing to marry you." The man replied, "Where is this sister of yours?" "She is standing now right behind you." As the man turned round, the young woman gave him a resounding slap and said, "A moment ago you were swearing eternal love, that you could not live without me for even a second, and the very next moment you turned to look at another woman. Your professed ever overwhelming love should make you forget everything except me. Go away, you hypocrite. I have no time for such a love as yours." While listening to records in the West Room of Mehrabad Retreat with Barber in 1954, he would translate some of the words. This is a wonderful state of the lover. Remember, a lover is not concerned with the planes and with the different states of consciousness. He only knows of God and loves only God. He arrives now at the stage when this love spreads over his world and the pangs of separation are so unbearable that he says now, "I want to forget you, but the more I try to forget you, the more I remember you. This torture is unbearable." Oh, my beloved God, only He is fortunate and big-hearted who cannot stop shedding tears for your love. Oh, you who are claiming to be lovers of God, beware. In this path you will be shown innumerable supernatural sights, but beware, you only love God. And don't be ensnared by these visions, sights and powers. O you who dares to talk of love, you do not know the difficulties and hardships facing you. The Master tests you at every step you take on this path. Lovers of God, do not let what is in your heart come to your lips. O lover, beware. God tests you by being cruel, by giving you false hopes, by cutting you to pieces, but love God. O you who talk of loving God, you have to bow down to him at every step, as though each particle of dust were a threshold to him. Do not have procrastination. Start the love from this very moment. Do not forget the beloved one moment. Do not forget. Do not let your hair flow freely, because at every flowing my heart receives an arrow. This, by the way, referred to the ghazal at the time was about Attar, and Attar had long tresses of hair. God says, O lover of mine, if you want to enter my lane, just let your heart roll under my feet and be kicked by me as my ball. Nari, a saint of the path, came to the renowned master Junaid, a perfect master, and said, I hear you give discourses on every subject. Speak to me now on whichever subject you choose, so that I may add things you may not know. Junaid said, What do you wish me to talk about? Nari replied, Love. Junaid then said, Let me tell you a story. My friends and I were in a garden. One of us was supposed to bring our meal, but he was late. We went up on the terrace to look for him, and we saw approaching us on the path a blind man, accompanied by a beautiful young woman. We heard the blind man say to the young woman, You ordered me to do this. I did it. You prevented me from doing that, and I did not do it. I have never acted against your wishes. What else do you want from me? The woman said, I wish you to die. Very well, I shall die. And he lay down and covered his face. I said to my friends, that blind man indeed looks lifeless, but he could not have really died. He must be pretending. We came down. We looked at the man. We shook him and saw that indeed he was dead. Nari left without a word. Do not listen to the mind. I think this is Baba. Listen to the heart. Mind wavers. Heart does not falter. Mind fears. Heart is not daunted. Mind is the house of doubts, reasonings and theories. Heart, when purified, becomes the dwelling of beloved God. So get your heart rid of low desires, temptations and selfishness, and God will manifest in you as your own self. As in another wondrous story, a lover was repeating in detail to his beloved the bitter dregs that he had suffered, not in reproach, but in his love for her. He was reciting this tale of woe 100 times over, complaining of his ancient sorrow, and in this fire of love raging within, he was weeping. "Yes, you have done all this," replied his beloved, "but you have not done the root of love and loyalty. You have but done the branches. Tell me, what is the root?" "The root is death and annihilation. Take heed, die if you are truly a lover, gambling life itself." Instantly he lay down and yielded up his soul. Like the rose, he gambled his life away with a laugh, joyfully.